Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And she did it. She went to go see Elio. And she went with Pinky Boo, and she has some thoughts. So
I do.
We're gonna talk about the movie. I don't know anything about the movie other than it's called Elio, and there's a kid with an eye patch and aliens. So this is going to be the first time I'm hearing what happens during this movie. Geeky's going to do a review of it, I guess. So there's probably
I'll do
spoilers.
Spoiler free first, and then we'll do spoilers later. And I will, of course, let you know when we're going to do spoilers.
All right. I don't care if I get spoiled. I am often spoiled by Geeky.
Yeah,
she spoils me rotten.
I do.
Yeah. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you'll get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
If you just can't get enough of Geeky, we've actually got a rant of hers out there on news.clownfishtv.com. Check it out. That's where we're going to put all of our plus membership stuff, I think, over there. It seems to work better than the alternatives. So check it out, news.clownfishtv.com. So let's talk about Elio. This is the new Pixar movie. It is not looking like it's going to do very good at the box office.
Probably not. And it's mostly because they really, really dropped the ball as far as marketing is concerned on this one. But the question people are going to say is it good or not? And what's going to happen is people are going to get mad at me right now because the answer is yes, it is actually good.
You hate Disney.
I know.
You hate everything. You're
people
biased.
are getting mad because I'm saying it. My job is to tell those people the truth from my perspective, and that's what I'm going to do. It was not a bad movie. It was a good movie. Did it feel like Pixar? Yes, it did. Which I was surprised. I was fully expecting it to suck. Fully expecting it to be terrible. And it wasn't. And our daughter was fully expecting it to be terrible too. And she's like, that was good. And I'm like, yes. Again, from a normie mom perspective, a family perspective, it's not a bad movie. Okay,
so that actually surprised me because you texted me from the theater. Texted me from the theater and said this movie is actually not bad.
No,
it's actually pretty good. So
I mean, I can see people are going to wait for Disney Plus for it because they keep doing that. And you can, that's completely fine. But when it comes to Disney Plus, you're going to want to watch it because it is a good movie.
Okay, so where should we start? We can look at some of the other reviews.
Yeah, you can do that. There isn't any audience reviews yet because it's previews right now, but probably won't see any until tomorrow.
Certified fresh, 86%. We got there's some reviews.
That are audience or these critical?
Yeah, these are audience. Popcorn meter 50. So the tomato meter, they have 95 reviews, mostly good. There's some here though that aren't that great. But yeah, so let's talk about it. Tell me what is up with this movie.
Well, wait, we're not doing spoilers yet, right? Are we doing?
We're not doing spoilers yet. Just give the bird's eye
overview. Okay, so it's basically what they show in the trailer. It's a kid. His parents have been killed, and he's living with his aunt Olga. Which the names, I mean, Elio and Olga, little weird there. He's living with his aunt. There's some stuff that happens that makes him obsessed with. He's already kind of into space, but then he gets more into space. They bring up Voyager and the Golden Record into this one. They bring that into it. And the aunt works for, the military, and she, her job is to look for space debris and stuff like that. So she's already working with space. So anyway, I don't want to tell you what happened in the movie, but he ends up, they ends up going to space like they show in the trailer.
Oh, you ruined it.
And then, I know, and then they think he's the leader of Earth, which of course he's not.
And that's in the trailer too.
Basically it's a trailer, and they basically tell him that, they aren't going to let him into their collective because there's a situation with another potential candidate, and he volunteers to handle the candidate. And then the candidate's very, if you don't get what I want, I'm going to blow you up type situation. And then, he meets his son, and it's basically the same thing in the trailer. I can't really say much more than the trailer without going into spoiler territory. But I honestly expected it to be really stupid, and I'm sure there's parts of it that aren't the greatest. But does it feel like a Pixar movie? It really does. I mean, if you get past what our daughter said, if you can get past the art style, because they're doing the bean mouth thing, and she's like, if you can get past the bean mouth. That it's and honestly that you forget about that after a while. When you get into the story, you don't even pay attention to that. But it's really good. It's a good movie. It's a good story. It's definitely I think an allegory for autism, or things like that. But I think if anybody who's felt like they didn't belong or they weren't included or that they were a burden or things like that, you're going to have something that you're going to connect to. And I think everybody's had feelings like that at some point. But it's definitely like this kid he seems like he's on the spectrum in some way. So, and it's about acceptance and things like that, which sounds bad. Like people are like, oh, of course it does. It's actually good. I'm sorry. I'm not going to tell you it sucks when it doesn't.
Okay. Well, that's fair. So I just, before you get into the spoilers, on a scale 1 to 10, approximate.
Pinky Boo said 8. I'll say 7.5 to 8. And I'm giving you a little leeway there because at least it's an original, but it's definitely one I'd watch again. I definitely would like take you to see it.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm not going to make you. I'll wait to Disney Plus, but I'm just saying.
I'm not going to make you. You're not worth spending money on. Wait
for
Disney
I don't
Plus.
think you're going to want to. I know you, and you're not going to probably want to go to the theater for it. It's not
really.
But I mean, I grew up. It was ironic because I'll tell you what was really weird about it. It was ironic to me because I was thinking about movies because Pinky Boo lately has been watching 80s movies like crazy, and she just watched all the Star Wars movies. She's not a fan of the sequels either, but she watched the other ones and she liked them. And I was actually going to suggest to her to watch The Last Starfighter. And I just said it today, actually, before we went to the movie. And there's some elements in this. I'm like, wow, if she likes this, she'll like The Last Starfighter. So they're not doing like a game. They're not like doing a trial, but like there's some things with cloning and things. There's elements of it that I'm like, she probably would like The Last Starfighter.
Okay, well that's cool. Yeah, she's definitely on this 80s movie kick. I made her watch the Muppet movie for the first time the other night.
It's better than the Muppet movie.
It's better than the Muppet movie?
Muppet movie's not that good. Sorry, fight me.
Oh my God, blasphemy. No, actually, it's I think the Muppet movie's good.
I stand by what I said. Anyway.
Okay. So, all right. Well,
I watched my K-drama instead.
I love the Muppet movie, but maybe I'm biased.
You're allowed to like movies I don't like.
Because I remember it being on like ABC back in the day. Anyway, let's talk about this. So now we're going to get into spoiler territory.
Yeah, I'll tell you the story of Elio, but I want to make sure people know it's spoiler territory. Again, if you want to go see it and you think you want to take your kids to it, take your kids. The theater, honestly, was all families. My daughter and I were we probably older ones there. A lot of little kids, which they were cute, but they also started to get annoying after a while. But
as little kids do.
They were real little. Some of them were like, some of them were like 2 kind of situation. And there's a couple of parts in the movie that I'm like, oh, that's going to freak the hell out of kids, but little kids. But because it happened and my daughter looked at me like, oh, no. But, it wasn't a whole lot of people in the theater. I'd say there was about 1, 2 next to us. My daughter, 4, 7, I don't know, like maybe 12, 13 people in the theater.
Okay.
So it's not doing great.
No, it's definitely, they said How to Train Your Dragon is going to be #1 again this weekend. And How to Train Your Dragon was pretty packed, and so was Lilo and Stitch. So they're going to be competing with themselves. I think that's honestly, I'm wondering if with the marketing, if that's part of the reason why Disney's not throwing a lot of money at this, because they're like, well, we can just kind of go on cruise control with Lilo and Stitch. We don't have to spend any extra money on this one.
The thing too, like How to Train Your Dragon, I liked a lot. I liked it better than this because it's How to Train Your Dragon, but it's a live action version of it. But if I'm going to judge it, like, the fact that it's original, I'm going to give it a similar score in the fact that it's its own thing. It doesn't already have a conceived, what you're getting from it. And How to Train Your Dragon is good because the animation, which is obviously better, was good. And How to Train Your Dragon is better than Elio.
Okay.
I'm just going to tell you straight up, but the animated movie is like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 13, 15.
Yeah, How to Train Your Dragon's
so a scale of 1 to 10, this is probably about 7.5 or 8.
Okay, so let's go through the plot then. It's about a kid named Elio, and does he get his eye drilled out, sucked out? Okay.
No, he gets in a fight and his eye gets hit. So basically what I said, it starts out the kid's with his aunt. I guess it's not long after his parents had passed. And I think I didn't really say, I think car accident probably. And they're at like some space museum and he gets away and he finds this new exhibit that hasn't opened yet. And in it, it's talking about Voyager and about if you're not familiar, it was a satellite and it had a bunch of messages from Earth, like, hello, welcome. And so like that, they're talking about the golden record. And he actually turns the exhibit, Voyager. He actually turns the exhibit on, and then that starts his fascination with space. Because like, oh, maybe there's something out there. If I don't fit in here, maybe I'll fit in there, kind of situation. So he keeps making it his life's mission to try different places to get contacted by aliens, takes his little radio out, makes these little things in the sand, like aliens come get me and stuff like that. And this goes on apparently for a while. He starts skipping school and stuff.
Don't ask for that, dude. They're going to put things in your butthole.
Well, he even like gets excited when they do a DNA thing. He's
wait,
like,
whoa.
He goes, my first probe. Anyway, I'm serious. God. He does. So this goes on for a while, and then he says he has a ham radio club, and he asks for people to bring ham radios because he's trying to amplify his. And a kid shows up, and he's actually really nice. And he brings this radio up. He's like, where's the rest of the club? He's like, oh, they have amnesia. They're all sick. And then this other kid shows up with him, and he's a dick. And he tries to mess with this stuff, and that's how he gets his eye hit. He tries to stop him from messing with the stuff, and then the kid actually hits him in the eye with his ham radio. So that's why his eye's covered. So anyway, he gets his eye's injured. The aunt has to pick him up. The aunt's trying to be in the astronaut program. She gave it up to take care of him. That's mentioned a few times. Oh. But she's higher up. So he goes to her office. He's supposed to wait in her office while she takes a meeting. What happened at this meeting was this guy named Melmac. Okay. I don't know if it's like, Melmac, like the planet Melmac. I don't know if it's like a nod to that or what. Is it like an elf thing? What? I don't know. He was like, I caught a signal. So because they showed that Voyager got picked up by this spaceship thing. So it's trying to talk back. And when they plays the signal back, it has like the voices on there, like a little kid's voices saying about welcome to, we're from Earth or whatever. And he goes, I have it set up that we can respond to them. And she's like, no, we're not doing that. Well, Elio heard them say that they had a message from space. So he snuck in. And then when they all leave, because she's like, no, we're not wasting time with this. Go home. He gets on the microphone and he said about coming to Earth. And he's like, at the end, he says, bye, I love you. And then sends a message. Well, he goes, and then it ends up short circuiting out the whole base and all stuff. So Aunt gets in trouble. So she's going to send him to military camp. And she sends him to military camp. And when she gets to military camp, those kids that he got in a fight with are there because they got punished too. And they want to fight him again. So he's running away from them because they're going to come into his tent like with alien masks on to scare him because he's obsessed with aliens. And like, oh, there's that weird kid. Clearly they're doing autism things here. It's just the way he acts and stuff. I see it. Anyway, he in his quest to run away, he runs away and then the alien ship comes and gets him. Okay. But meanwhile, right when it comes to get him, everything freezes in time. He's like getting ready to get his face punched. So everything freezes. He unwraps himself from getting punched because they are holding his arms. And they take him to space and he sees this communiverse or whatever they call it. Okay. So thoughts at this point? No thoughts?
The communiverse? Is it like
it's a communiverse, yeah. So it's all these different aliens that are on this like council, going around trying to find other intelligent life, and they wanted to connect with Earth. So he tells them,
it's about communications because
it's not communicore, it's communiverse,
right? But they're it's going around Twitter. They're like, it's about communism.
I don't know. I mean, they all like want to work together and share ideas and stuff, and they're like ambassadors from each of the worlds in this place, but they're not they're representing their own planets. It's not like each planet's communist or anything like that. It was just about they all want to share ideas and share,
like the Galactic Federation, just
kind of like the Federation. That's kind of what it is. It's like a federation. So he's there, and they think he's the leader of Earth, and he of course goes along with it. And they have different things they explain, like, oh, there's a translator badge. It was very Star Trek. Here's a translator badge that appears that you can understand us now. And it controls your gravity, it controls your body heat and all the other stuff. And it does different things so they all can be comfortable in this place. And there's this book of knowledge that has all the answers to everything, except he asks stupid questions, because of course he does, because that was just dumb. If he was as smart as he was in the aliens and stuff, he would ask smarter questions. But that's a whole other story. Anyway, basically he's one of the candidates for this council, and there's another guy who is the warlord dude. Basically it's a worm maggot thing in a suit, and he is like threatening that if you won't let him join, he goes, you could use my military might with your brains and we could take over everything, kind of thing. And they're like, no thank you, we're about peace and all the other stuff, and they reject him from being the thing. So now he wants to take them down because how dare they. So he leaves. They're all afraid. Elio's like, well, do I get to be part of the organization too? And they said, well, not right now because it's not a good time. And he volunteers to go do the negotiations. So he goes over to negotiate And it works out. He's going pretty good at first until he basically, the guy's like, "Are you a dad too?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a dad. I sent my kids away to camp and stuff," because we're talking about his son, because his Gordon wanted to see him or something, and he's like, "I'm busy." And then when he got mad when he said he was a bad dad, when he said when he implied he's a bad dad, that's what set him off, and he's going to blow everybody up. So they put him in a cell, which he escapes, and that's how he meets Gordon. And they become friends, and then he uses him as a bargaining chip to try. And then the guy agrees to not attack them anymore and to go away if, they give him his son back. But he wants to put I guess they're like bugs, like slugs that go into these big mech suits. So their power and tech is in these mech suits. That's how they're so powerful. So they basically, after you get in the mech suit, you're stuck in the mech suit forever.
Oh,
you're not supposed to leave. You're not supposed to leave the mech suit. Well, Gordon doesn't want to go in the mech suit. He's a pacifist or whatever. He's a kid. He's a little kid. He wants to play and do kid stuff. He doesn't want to go in the suit. So instead of telling his dad he doesn't want to go in the suit, they make a clone of him. Oh, I forgot to mention that part earlier. The clone. There's a clone of Elio that got sent back to Earth, so he wouldn't be missing.
Okay, and the Elio clone. Starfighter reference. Okay.
I forgot a bunch of that. I knew I was going to forget something important. They make a clone of him with his nose booger as a DNA thing, and then it clones, but when it comes out of the thing, it's all like, like kind of like Last Starfighter. And then they send him back to Earth, and he's in place of Elio. And when the aunt comes to get him the next day because there was a fight, he's like all acting normal, and she's just like, oh, okay. Well, he got over that. He's not talking about space anymore. He's normal and easy to deal with. This is kind of great. And then it turns out though that she's getting suspicious because he's too perfect.
He's too normal.
Yeah. So she gets a hair off his head to look into a microscope and see if because she's starting to get suspicions like he's weird. And then the hair breaks the glass on the microscope, and they kind of like the Iron Giant where it's like scooting away. And it goes back onto the clone Elio's head. And then she's like, oh my God. And then she lifts his eye patch up and he has no eye. It's like nothing there. So then she freaks out and he grabs her hand and he's like, oh, we got to talk. So, she knows there's a clone Elio. And then that's going on at the same time. So they make a clone of Gordon. Gordon gets put in the suit. The clone gets put in the suit. The real Gordon's hiding in a spaceship. Then the dad realizes that that's not his son, and he starts taking everybody hostage. And the one girl can read minds, kind of like Mantis type situation. Okay. And she reads Elio's mind, and it's like, oh, your son's in the ship, and he's not the leader of Earth, so they send him back to Earth. And then they find out he gets up on the beach, and his aunt's there with the clone Elio, and then she thinks he's the clone. Then she realizes he's the real one, and she's like, I knew it wasn't you. I'm glad you're back, and all this other stuff, kind of thing. Which is good because he's the aunt. Then he finds out his aunt really wanted him there. Anyway, so they go.
And then he dies. The end.
No, he doesn't. The clone and her and Elio go. The clone's like, oh, I can disintegrate now. Put me on plants so I enrich the soil because I'm just going to turn it to goo again. Oh God. But this is where it gets really weird. So they go to the base and they need a distraction. So the clone Elio comes around the building and distracts the guards. And when they get over to him, he just starts melting right in front of them and like grabbing hold of them. And it's really kind of disturbing. And I was thinking the kids, thankfully they're too little, I think, to understand it. But they get in, they get the ship, they go back. Gordon is not doing well because his heat regulator, he's like a lava kid, so he needs to stay hot. It's off, so he's like dying or whatever in the ship. And they eventually do all this stuff and they get back to where they need to go back to. And I'm just going to blast past all this. They get there and then the dad sees them and he's like, he needs help. And the dad pulls himself out of his suit, another big worm, slug thing, because his son's more important to him than being a warlord. So he, grabs his son and gets him, and they get him reawakened and body temperature up. And he tells his dad, I don't want to go in the suit. And his dad's like, all right, you knew that. And yay, everybody's happy. And they give Elio a chance to stay in the council, but his aunt's there and he decides to go back to Earth. But he still radios back and forth with Gordon, apparently. The end. It sounds really lame, but it's actually really good. I hate telling these stories because everybody's like, you tell stories so bad. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
And then this happened, and then that happened.
Yeah,
and I forgot about this major plot point. No, that's okay.
Yeah, I do, because it's a lot to remember. And there's been a lot going on today. So I'm sorry if I suck at telling stories. If you got this far, good for you. Yeah. If you didn't get this far and you stopped at the spoiler part, I understand. My stories suck. I get it.
Today, That's okay. I was gonna say today's been a very sad day. Unfortunately, we lost one of our cats this
We
morning.
did. So it's
RIP
been a
Mimi.
day. So if I don't tell it perfectly, I'm sorry. But it sounds lame. And I know every time I do these reviews, like, that sounds stupid. And like, it does sound stupid when I'm retelling it, but it actually wasn't bad as a movie. Like, it was good.
It doesn't sound stupid. I'm just trying to like imagine it in my head. And then the only thing that really sticks out is this kid melding. I'm like, you could really mess with the kid and be like, look, freaky. You're not like, just freak the kid out. Like, oh, you're acting bad. You know why you're bad? Because you're not real. You're a clone.
Oh my
and
God.
You're going to freaking melt when you least expect it. You're just going to start melding.
Pinky Boo looked at me and she was like, oh no, because there's a bunch of little kids in the theater. And then just like, that's traumatic. I think most of them were too little to get upset about it because they were real little kids. But we're just like, that's not going to go over well.
That kind of stuff messes with me though. Like to this day, I think I talked about it before, but there was this 80s movie called Conrad. And he was like a clone robot, whatever boy, but he came in like he was dehydrated in a can. Yeah. And it was Flo from Alice, I think, was the mom, Kiss My Grits, you know? Mm-hmm. But they like pop the top on the can. It's like a Pringles can, giant Pringles can. And there's this like shriveled, like Ethiopian looking kid inside the can. And they just like add water to him or something, or like grow solution. And he pops out of the can. I'm like, that was the story. Cause I wasn't expecting that. They're like, oh, it's a kid in a can. And then they open the can and he's like all shriveled up. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, it's like kind of like that. Cause there's a kid's like face is melting off. And everything else right in front of these guards. The guards are freaking out because they're like, what the heck? And this kid's like turning into goo right in front of them. And then as Elio's going in the building, he like salutes them. And the clone Elio's like, you know, thumbs up, go, you know, as he's melting into a puddle. It was like, that could be a bit much for children, little children. I'd watch out for that one if your kids would be easily upset by that. But otherwise, it definitely could take your kids. It's actually really good. The whole point is, you know, you got to find out where you belong, and you know, you could be accepted other places. You're not alone and stuff like that, which I thought was good because you run into that. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, like there was a good solid couple months when I was in like 5th grade or 6th grade that all the kids in my class just didn't talk to me. Like, we had a small class, so kids would be really mean. And when they tried this to other kids, I'd always talk to the other kids because I didn't want them to be left by themselves. I felt bad for them. So I'd always still talk to them, even though no one else would. But then when they did it to me, nobody would because they were afraid that they'd get done to them again. So they wouldn't. So they just left me I'd sit by myself, like at lunch by myself. I
would have sat with you.
I know you would have. So, I mean, I get it. I totally get it. And I definitely think there's like a whole allegory for autism or something like, you know, things like that in this story, but it's actually really good. And I mean, don't go if you don't want to. I'm not saying you have to, but as like a normie mom, I'm not like, you know, going to be like I'm not a film critic by any means, but like a normie mom with, you know, had kids and little kids and I was a teacher. I thought it was good. If my kids were little, I'd still take them.
Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, they're saying though, it's not going to do.
I don't think it's going to do well. Hardly anybody was there. I mean, unless it goes like Elemental, where it starts out way slow and word of mouth brings it back up, because they advertised it so crappy.
Well, I mean, to be fair though, like this, there are a lot of choices this summer for families. I mean, you've got Lilo and Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon. You've got this one. There's a couple other big, god awful Smurfs.
Get the bad guys too. Oh, the bad guys too. Let's take a moment. That Smurfs movie looks like shit. I'm sorry.
It looks terrible.
It looks so terrible. And I'm sorry, Rihanna's Smurfette is dumb. It's flat out dumb.
It doesn't work.
Smurfette does not like that Smurf him up, you know, and stuff like that. Like, come on.
No, she was like that. She was like, I'm gonna Smurf that mother Smurfer.
Yeah, basically, and it's like it does not work. Like, and then she's singing, and it's like that. It doesn't even track, you know.
I mean, wasn't Zendaya available?
I mean, but even then, I'm like, I don't have nothing against Rihanna. I liked Rihanna in Battleship and stuff. I have nothing against Rihanna, but I'm just saying Rihanna as Smurfette, no, that's just dumb.
Literally the last person I would ever.
It was not. Does not translate. Does not work. Not at all.
I guess they had to get a pop star because
that's what I think it was.
Katy Perry before was Smurfette, wasn't she? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch those either, but this one really. I know her daughter did, but she's just like, oh, this is terrible.
Yeah, it looks really like juvenile. And then I would like to see them do Smurf movies based on the original comic strips. Like the original comic strips were good, but I also like, Franco-Belgian comics. That's a whole nother thing. But anyway, that movie looks dumb. This movie,
it does. It looks really stupid. This is much better, I think, than that's going to be.
Okay. So yeah, so this could be a case. Either it's a slow burn, or it could be a case of it's a good movie that just it's a box office failure, and that happens. That happens.
Two things could be true at once. Like I said, something can still be good, but people don't care to see it, or they don't know it's good. It doesn't look like enough Pixar for them, or whatever. And I think the B-mouth art is getting kind of old to people, and they don't go. But the movie's actually really good. But again, if you want to wait to Disney Plus, then wait to Disney Plus.
Okay, well, I might actually check this one out on Disney Plus. Win or Lose is actually pretty good. I'm gonna be honest. It was much better than I expected it to be.
And people might disagree with me, and that's cool. You don't have to agree with me, and that's fine. But I'm not gonna say something sucks when it doesn't, just because people want to hear that it sucks. Because I honestly thought it was gonna be terrible. I was braced fully for it to suck, and it didn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, given the output, from Disney Animation, yeah, it's, hopefully Pixar is learning a few things and they're trying to course correct. I do think, look, I'll be honest, I do think Disney's trying to course correct. I just think it's not something that's going to happen overnight. I think they're trying to salvage what they have in the pipeline. Inside Out 2 getting notes, and this one, they switched directors or whatever, and they threw more money at it. But I don't know. We'll see. If it's good, hopefully it gets rewarded for that. So the bean counters at Disney can be like, yeah, people want more of this. If not, it's going to be Toy Story 6, 7, 8, 9.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
Frozen
sadly.
7,
and I
8,
think
9,
that's
10.
ultimately that's going to happen anyway. I think that's all, because I don't think this is going to do well. But it's good. If I'm telling the truth, it's good. So
all right. So now I want to watch The Last Starfighter. So
I do too. Anyway. I actually was just saying, our daughter, you should watch The Last Starfighter. Wink, wink, so I can watch it too. And then that and Iron Eagle. Those are the two I was thinking of. I loved Iron Eagle as a kid because my dad.
I like Enemy Mine.
I never think I've never watched.
You've never seen Enemy Mine?
I've seen parts of it. I've never seen the whole thing of it.
Louis
it was
Gossett
boring
Jr.
to me.
Well, it was basically like an episode.
It was very talky.
It was good. It was good. Anyway, we're gonna wrap it up.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been going on half an hour now. So please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Check out news.clownfishtv.com for more podcasts and articles.
I'll try to get another rant for people soon.
Yeah, you need to get fired up about something. You need to find something to get fired up about.
I got a list of things that piss me off. It's all
just
no
go
problem.
on the Blue Sky. Go on the Blue Sky for a couple hours and
that's
lots
true.
to talk about.
My list will be doubled. All right, are we wrapping this up?
Yep, we are. Talk to you later.
Bye.
For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.